This is ABTV, Animal Bites Television. For animal lovers, by animal lovers.
Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes. I'm here with my good friend Corey Wild.
We're at the Big Bear Alpine Zoo and we're going to go inside and look at some of the awesome wildlife that they have here.
You're watching SnakeBytes.
My name is Brian Barczyk. I'm no zoologist, just a guy with a passion for animals. And that passion often takes me on animal adventures around the world. This week I'm in Big Bear, California at the Big Bear Zoo. You're watching SnakeBytes.
Well, dude, this is going to be an awesome day, man.
What a great spot. I'm going to go and check out some big cats.
All right, I'm meeting up with Christy. I'll catch up with you later, man.
Later.
Christy, how are you? Brian, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having us here.
It's a pleasure.
I know, it's so cool. And obviously you're admiring the mountain lions. Tell me about these guys.
Yeah, these two are our female mountain lions. They are here because their mom was shot by a rancher. She was attacking and eating his goats, which was costing him money, so he got a deprivation permit. And after they had shot her, they realized that she was lactating, and so they went out looking for the babies, and they found them, and they still had their eyes closed, so they were taken up north to the fish and game facility, and then they tried to find them a permanent home, because with an apex predator like this, once they've been imprinted on people, you can't release them back to the wild. It's just dangerous for both parties.
Oh, absolutely. Now, how old are these guys?
They're about 11, 12 years old.
About 11 or 12 years old. And again, you know, that's the thing. You can't really re-release predators back into the wild like that. And that's one of the things that, you know, what is the mission statement of the zoo? I mean, you guys are kind of you're a rehab, you're a rescue. I mean, tell me about that.
We're pretty much basically a home for life for all the animals that can no longer be out there on their own, that aren't physically capable of taking care of themselves, or that aren't mentally capable if they haven't been taught by their parents how to hunt and what, you know, dangers to look out for. So we get a lot of animals that come through the door, and about 90% of those we get back out.
Good.
But the other 10% either end up here living with us for life, or they go to another zoo, or in the rare cases where if they're in a lot of pain and they're not, you know, fixable and it's not healthy for them, then the vet will make the determination to put them down. So.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you know, I can't wait to look at some other animals, so let's go look.
Let's go.
So working with animals for 20-something years now, there's always a tremendous amount of interesting stories I find. So tell me a couple stories that were just, you know, some of the coolest things that happened to you, or maybe the weirdest things even.
But just having the different stuff at home, well, with the wolves, when we raised the wolves, just walking around like zombies, because people don't realize how much you have to give of yourself. And we do this in our own free time. We're not paid to take them home, but just the amount of care that you have to put into them. So
you actually had to take some wolves home and raise them?
We did.
Okay.
We had to raise the wolf pups.
How many were there?
There were 9 pups.
9 of them.
Yeah, and
so
we split them up because unfortunately by the time you took all 9, by the time you finished feeding them, it was already time to start over because your 2 hours had gone by. So we split them up so that we could at least get 10 minutes of sleep here and there. And but different things, like having people come by your house that hear strange noises coming, like coyotes howling, or
what's that howling in your living room?
Or a raven. I had a raven I raised at home, and he would scream like a little kid falling down. And I had people coming over and going to call child services because they thought I was beating my kids or something. And it's like, no, it's my bird. And I finally had to bring him back here because it's caused too many problems in the neighborhood.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Now here's some, speaking of some kind of crazy animals here, these are some coyotes, huh?
Yes, we have 3 coyotes in here. 2 of them people tried to make pets out of and realized that coyotes do not make good pets. In fact, no wild animal makes a good pet. A lot of people find them when they're orphaned and think that they're going to raise them up and they're going to be like a dog or a cat, and they're not. They're wild. They have that.
Right, I think some people make that mistake because they think they're a canine. They think just like a wolf. They think, oh, we can have these, domesticate them. But the truth is typically once they mature and become adults, they're no longer that cute, cuddly thing anymore.
Once they sexually mature, they want to go out on their own and do their own thing, and that's when people end up having troubles. And at that point, they're so used to being around people, you can't release them because they're either going to end up getting themselves in danger or hurting somebody in the process. So at that point, you either have to hope a zoo will take them on, or they get put to sleep a lot of times, unfortunately.
All right, here we are with Doreen, and we're feeding the snow leopards.
This is
Asha?
Okay. And this is how I get them to come.
Shanti? Hello, Shanti.
And then I can get a visual on them, so I can check out their bodies. So which one's up for me? Shanti hasn't figured it out. She doesn't follow the feed as well.
So there's a reason she's actually getting the cats to bring their claws up on so she can check the bottom of their paws. their paws and check their claws?
Yeah, their paws are visual. The underneath their bellies and their faces, they'll come up, they'll close. It's okay, it's so easy. I know. And I'm going to go ahead and go up and ask her to come up with me. Awesome. See the little visual?
Yep.
Everything's good with them. Usually this isn't as much as they get. They get 1 or 2 and then they go.
Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is get them to go in their holding and spread some food around in their enclosure. Okay, Doreen, so basically we've done our quick safety check. We've made sure each cat has gone into its enclosure. We've locked them down. We've double locked them down here. Now we know it's nice and safe to go in and feed them. So let's go and have a look, shall we? We're entering the belly of the beast.
You always shut the door. Even though your handle's down, you want to make sure your doors are shut. So I mean, you can see both cats are there, and we can go ahead and start it. Right?
For obvious reasons. Cool, so... So we've got some lovely steak today by the looks. And we'll put some down here. And we've also got pork by the looks. Bit of pork meat. Where would you like that? On top of the rock. I'll put one of those up there. And then we've got some mince as well. Did you want to leave some mince in the bowl?
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll put our other bowl down over here. And now you can see they're just about ready to come out. The good thing about spreading it out a little bit is so they get a bit of exercise and they have to look for their food, and obviously they know where their bowls are each time. So let's get out of here and let them have their breakfast and release the beasts. Oh,
there they come.
Here they go. So having snow leopards, pretty special. Can you tell us a little bit about where they came from and their background and why they're here?
Sure, these two are 2 females, Asha and Shanti, and they came from the Woodland Park Zoo where they're part of the species survival plan. And when these guys were born, they were born with a small eye disease, and so they actually had to have their eyes removed. So because of that, they weren't able to keep using them in the breeding program, so they had to be retired and sent to another zoo. So we were very fortunate to be on the list of receiving zoos that could take them, and this is a beautiful atmosphere for them because we're close to the Alpine area with all the snow, so it's kind of exciting.
And you know, a lot of parks and zoos actually don't display animals that may be maimed or have birth defects, but of course with a lot of our big cats, they're endangered species, if not critically endangered, and it would be a shame to put down cats like this just because they're missing one eye or something like that.
They're still viable creatures that are obviously having a really good life and getting around, and may take them a little longer to find the food, but they've got it.
And they're still great animals, and they're great to educate the public, and for people to see these animals in this area is just, it's amazing.
So you brought up the ravens earlier and how you had raised one. Is it one of these here?
Yes, Bubba, who is the bigger one in the back there. Bubba. But yeah, his nest was in an abandoned house, and the house got demolished. The parents took off. Most of the babies got squished. He was the only survivor. So he was brought here when he was really little. And he's been here like 20 years now.
20 years. So you raised him by yourself when he was a little baby.
Yeah.
And now ravens are known for being real vocal. Is he a vocal one?
He has a lot to say. He says a lot of different words, and he mimics a lot of sounds. He does a really good radio squelch. So you always think someone's like watching you where you're at because you hear him doing it. He does a really good mountain lion impersonation. So when you come here late at night, if you get an alarm call or you're coming after a program and it's dark and you hear a mountain lion coming from over here when you know they should be over there, it's a little disturbing. You just kind of freeze in your tracks and are like, okay, wait a minute, that's not
Bubba.
where it's supposed to be.
Now I noticed you have 2 over here and he's alone?
We have the 2 on this side, and then there's actually 4 on that side. And that's because he is imprinted and he's got an attitude to say, and he'll beat up the others. And they're all compromised with wing injuries, so we have to keep them separate, although he'll try to feed them through the fence to get them to come to him, and then he tries to get a hold of them. So he's a bad boy.
So he's basically the only kind of one that could fly and do whatever.
Yeah, all the others
but he was imprinted at an early age.
All the others have the wing injuries.
Yeah, ravens are just really cool animals.
The corvids in general, one of my favorites. They're just so smart. You can actually look at their faces and watch them like problem solving when you do stuff. And they're like, if you leave the lock too close, he'll sit there and he'll watch it, and then he'll go over and take it, and then he hides it from you. So he's a good little prankster.
What a cool bird. So Christy, you know what my heart is. Some treats for me, right?
I aim to please.
So what do we have here?
These are called pineapple balls, and we have volunteers that make these for us as treats for the animals, and they're a very healthy treat. It's raisins and pineapple and oats and peanut butter and all goodness mixed in there.
That's awesome, and that's these guys love it, I'm assuming.
They look forward to these treats, and we use them a lot for medication to hide in there because they're so excited to get one of these. It's easy to get a pill in them. So.
And so who do we have here?
This old timer right here, this is Zuni Bear.
Zuni Bear.
Zuni is about 15 years old now, and he's got kind of a skin condition he gets every winter where he starts getting the dandruffy look to his face. And he is here because he was found down in Barstow, actually in Hinckley, near Barstow, in a watermelon patch. And he was an orphan, and he ate so many watermelons, he was so skinny he did not look like a bear when he first came in. And Fish and Game had
come on, buddy,
caught him and brought him to here, and now he's just a big old fat happy bear.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool! I tell you what, and we got the three-armed guy back here.
This is our three-legged bear. This is Huckleberry.
Huckleberry.
This is the one I raised in my living room.
Oh my gosh, look at that! Certainly
he's
isn't
like, hello, give me a treat.
That certainly is no longer that 17-pound little bear anymore,
no,
right?
he's not, and he's much nicer now than when he was a baby. He knows now where his food comes from.
Exactly.
No,
this guy wants
open up.
one
I
more
know.
little treat.
He always feels he doesn't get enough.
You got one more coming?
This time of year, it's a real slow time for them. Their bodies slow down. They don't eat as much. So they don't
cool.
get as much food as they normally would in the summer.
Yeah.
But black bears have a very high food drive, so they get up every day when their food comes, whereas our grizzly bears tend to see them every couple of days when they feel like getting up.
I think your Huckleberry over there is rubbing his nose going, more.
I'm sorry.
How cool is that, guys? This is awesome. So what an incredible experience to be inside such a majestic animal like the bald eagle. Obviously, everyone knows it's the nation's bird, and it's really an amazing conservation story, right? I mean, it wasn't long ago that these animals were almost to a threatened status.
They were.
And of course, the good news is that now they're plentiful, really across large parts of this country and up into Canada. Now the downside, of course, is that some of them end up in here because they get injured because there's so many animals. So tell me how these two in particular ended up here.
Well, these, unfortunately, a lot of birds of prey end up becoming victims of gunshot injuries. And our male that's over there, which is the smaller one, his name's Alaska, and he is originally from Alaska where he was shot and brought here. He's been here over 20 years, and he came in as an adult, so we're not sure exactly how old he is, but they did have to amputate his wing. They did a partial, and he had a lot of trouble getting hung up, so they ended up having to do a full amputation. So he obviously can't get around or fly anymore. And over the years, he started to develop a cataract in his eye, so he can only see out of one eye now. And then our female, who is the larger girl there with the anklets on, she was found down at Silverwood Lake. She basically was starving to death. She suffers from the poisoning of DDT way back when, and it's taken a lot of her eyesight, so she can see like shadows and stuff, which is why she gets a little more nervous when we're in here. But she can't see to fly to hunt down prey, so basically she was starving. So they caught her up and brought her up here, and we're not sure exactly how old she is, but she's been here probably about 15 years now.
Oh my gosh, 15 years now. Up in this area, you're going to have the opportunity every now and then to see these guys flying around in the wild, but they don't always look like what you're seeing here, right?
No, these two are both adult birds, mature adults. So they both have the white head, white tail. When they're born, they're totally brown. They look a lot like a golden eagle. So a lot of people see them in the wild, get them confused with the golden. And then each year they start getting a little more white added in. And by the time they're 5 years old, they're considered a mature adult and are out in the breeding population. And
it's funny, each year that goes by, I get a little more white too.
There you go.
So we share something in common.
Okay, so we're here with Chrissy, and you've brought your little friend along?
Yes, this is Daytona, our little coyote. He's about 6 months old. And he is here because he was found when he was about 5 weeks old. Over in Fawnskin, he was hit by a car, and a lady coming up the mountain thought it was a kitten in the road, so she stopped to help it out, and then when she got out, she realized it was a coyote, but his bone was sticking straight out of his leg in the back. So she scooped him up, brought him to us, and we took him to the vet, and it turned out he had 2 broken back legs, so they pinned both of those. And he also had seizures, and he was blind from the head trauma from being hit by a car. So that was a lot of care trying to get him to eat and to keep him healthy and get him through the seizure part. And we think that the mom probably abandoned him. He was born without a tail, which is usually a sign of a genetic issue. So we think that she kind of kicked him out, and then he was out trying to fend for himself and didn't do so well. And then he's got a permanent front leg injury here that used to work better, but the tendons have shrank because he wasn't able to use it. The whole left side of his body wasn't doing very well. And we're actually, as soon as he's done growing, the vets are going to go back in and try to operate and try to fix this and see if we can make it a little better, because he can walk, but it's not real graceful.
A lot of people are really a lot more scared of coyotes than they actually should be. They're not like a big bad pack hunting dog that's going to chase you down. They're actually a lot more scared of humans than we are of them. So they do have a bad reputation, and they also, obviously, they play a really important part in the ecosystem.
That they do.
Particularly with, rodent control and stuff like that, and without these guys having a sustainable population in areas, you can have outbreaks of other things, which also then, in turn, change the whole...
The web of life starts to unravel.
That's right, that's for sure.
Well, I can't come to a zoo without messing with some reptiles, right? And this happens to be one of the coolest lizards out there for sure. I love these guys because they're almost like little prehistoric monsters. This happens to be a red Argentine Tegu. Now there's really 3 different flavors of Argentine Tegus. There's black and whites, there's blue, and the reds. Reds happen to be one of my favorites, but just look at that thing. It's just so cool looking, so beefy, almost like the bulldog of the lizard world. This guy is pretty, look at that big old tongue. He's just smelling the air. And these guys eat almost anything you put in front of them. They'll eat rodents, they'll eat eggs, they'll eat just about anything at all. And as you can see, he's super tame. What an incredible animal for sure. But there's one snake in here that I know from personal experience isn't nearly as tame, because my whole youth, I was out catching these guys, and that's the northern water snakes. These guys typically have a pretty cantankerous attitude, to say the least, but this one seems to be pretty chill right now. This is a Nerodia species, and again, these are all over the northeastern part of the country, specific species, but again, they start to run around, and usually they're little biters, but this guy actually seems to be pretty calm right now. I remember going out into the water and into the swamp areas, and I would always come back just punctured like you couldn't believe. And again, these are typically watered animals. They will live on the land sometimes, but they love to get into those marshy areas and obviously eat frogs, fish, and every now and then they'll even eat other little snakes. They're really beautiful snakes for sure. And this one was really well behaved. I'm here with Debbie, the curator of the Big Bear Alpine Zoo, and of course Windsong, the beautiful red fox. The thing that's so amazing about the zoo is that each animal has an incredible story. So tell me a little bit about Windsong.
Well, Windsong came from the Midwest. She was actually in an animal shelter. Someone had had her illegally as a pet, and she was confiscated. And they were going to euthanize her if someone didn't take her, so we had her transported to our facility.
That's great. Now, Windsong looks like she has a few years on her, huh?
She definitely does. She's about 13 years old now, and 12 is about what they live to. So she's a very old lady, but she's doing great.
How many foxes do you have here?
Well, we have 4 now of the red foxes. We just got one that's a white phase, because in Russia, they're breeding them for pets. And a lot of people get them illegally here, so one was confiscated, and we have a white one. So we have 4 red foxes, we have 4 gray foxes, we have a kit fox and an Arctic fox.
That's so, and you know, let's touch on the pet thing a little bit, because you know, a lot of these exotic animals are so cute, but a lot of these end up in places like this because they're not really pets.
They're not pets. I mean, first of all, a lot of people walk into this zoo and go, oh, you've got skunks, which we do, but it's not the skunks they're smelling, it's the foxes. So you really don't want that in your house. And no matter what, they're still wild animals. And even though she's on a leash, you know, she's still, when she gets irritated, she can bite, and they're never tame. They're always wild animals. And so you really can't domesticate them. They just don't make good pets.
I can imagine, and it's such a cute animal, but again, you guys, you don't want to make the mistake of having an animal that you can't care for properly, and then it's the kind of the abuse of the animal that it gets into a shelter, and hopefully it ends up at a place like this, but oftentimes they get euthanized. Winsong is just absolutely adorable. Thank you for sharing them with her.
No problem.
All right. Debbie, this is one of the coolest experiences. I tell you what, first off, exactly what do we have here?
What we have here is an Arctic timber cross wolf. This is a male, his name is Blair, and he was actually born here along with 8 siblings.
8 siblings. I mean, what a beautiful animal. I tell you, the one thing that's amazing about wolves is that they're just so much larger when you're up close to them than what you imagine. When you see them in the movies or you see them even at a zoo, they almost look like dogs, but when you're this close, I mean, these things are massive. I mean, their feet, their heads. And they're, although they act more like dogs than some of the other canine things, they're still a little bit different, right?
Oh, they definitely are. I mean, they definitely have the ancestral behaviors that you sometimes see in your dogs at home. But they have a much stronger jaw. They have 2,000 pounds per square inch on that jaw, and their fur is a little bit different, and of course their behavior is a little bit different. But they grew up to be beautiful animals. So,
they're gorgeous. Well, thank you so much for letting us have this experience. This is awesome.
Again, I love to share these animals with people because they are very special.
Oh, they're so special. I tell you what, that was absolutely an incredible day.
What an awesome experience.
I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as me and Corey did.
Make sure when you're in Big Bear, come up and support the Alpine Zoo.
Or check them out on Facebook at Big Bear Alpine Zoo. So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. What an amazing time. I tell you, those wolves, that was an experience I'll never forget. And as always, I was Facebooking and tweeting my way through it. So make sure to follow me over at SnakeBytesTV. Until next week, you've been watching Snake Bites.
Hi, I'm Peter Birch, an Aussie bloke who loves wildlife. My respect for nature started when I was a young boy in rural New South Wales. Since then, it's exploded into an obsession. New episodes only on AnimalBytesTV.